Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to another weather forecast here by Asian Weather Forecast. And in this video, we're going to be talking about Tropical Storm Sally, which has just formed here, and possibly an unexpected hurricane landfall for the Gulf Coast. I know usually we talk about days ahead of time, but this just came up really and has now formed like expected. And the National Hurricane Center predicts it to be a moderate Category 1, but I do expect it, and a lot of other people expect this to be stronger due to it slowing down and going over some favorable conditions here. So we're really going to be watching out for the Gulf Coast for maybe a Category 1 or Category 2 landfall, even a couple miles support major hurricane. And obviously as well, looking at Tropical Storm Paulette, which is 5 miles an hour from a Category 1, and hurricane warnings have been issued for all of Bermuda. So really a big concern and significant effects likely for Bermuda for since Paulette will be moving in maybe as a Category 2, if not a Category 3, as it makes a direct landfall for Bermuda early next week. But before we get into the video, please subscribe if you're new, hit the like button, and post notification icon. But yeah, now let's get into this tropical forecast. So here's a look, guys, at the National Hurricane Center. As you see, there we got Sally, so the earliest S-named storm. So we're once again on a roll and continuing to increase our lead to 2005 here. But as you see, there's Sally at 40 miles an hour and 1,004 millibars. So it's a borderline tropical storm, but areas in Miami and even the Key Largo area have reported 45 miles an hour sustained and gust up to 55. So it was definitely felt the impacts in Florida. Actually, we had some roof damage. Some palm trees have actually reported to be to fall. I actually have some pictures from a friend down there. But yeah, definitely. It definitely was a pretty decent tropical depression down there, but now a tropical storm. And it's moving west at 7 miles an hour. That's the big thing. Moving west at 7 miles an hour. And the waters up there or down there in the eastern Gulf of Mexico are in the high 80s and almost breaking 90 degrees. So if it's going to be moving that slow, it's definitely going to break hurricane force winds, if not, maybe even be stronger, maybe a Category 2 before landfall. I think a Category 2 is definitely likely here. So if you're anywhere from the eastern Louisiana coast to the far areas near Pensacola, I would keep a close eye on this. I know it's really unexpected, but yeah, it's formed and it's heading for the it's heading for the Gulf Coast. Obviously, Paulette is obviously another big topic. It's 70 miles an hour, so continue to strengthen even with the shear that it's around it. It's continuing to try to develop a favorable atmosphere around this low pressure, but there it is at 987 millibars there, heading straight for Bermuda. Now we have a better idea of where this will go, and sadly, it's heading possibly straight for a direct landfall for Bermuda. Models of the past days have been showing it just skimming Bermuda, just missing Bermuda, but now even the National Hurricane Center shows it going dead center over Bermuda. So if you're in Bermuda, I would definitely keep a close eye on this. And I know you're in the middle of the ocean. It's kind of hard to evacuate. I can't really tell you how to evacuate other than going on a plane or on a boat. But just board up your windows. Have a generator if you can afford one, or if you have a spare one, or can borrow one. Anything you can get, really, water, just get supplies, because really, when you're in the middle of the ocean like that, it's kind of hard to evacuate. But there it is, possibly expected to be a Category 2 for the landfall. We have a couple models, including the GFS, which has been pretty good on Paulette so far, being a Category 3. And then there's 95L at a 90% chance for the next 5 days, and even a 90% chance for 2 days. So this could very well be Teddy very soon here, and possibly going to be a decent MDR storm. And then our newest Invest 97L, the 60% chance disturbance that is closest to Africa there near Senegal, that is also expected to be maybe another out to sea storm. And conditions should clear now that Paulette and Renee have actually opened up a window of no shear. It could possibly be a decent storm there. So guys, here's a look at satellite imagery, and this is actually a pretty impressive looking tropical storm. It's got banding, outflow, inflow, center convection, close low. It's got everything you can ask for here. It's looking pretty good here. And honestly, guys, I'm not going to lie. I think this is a 45 mile an hour tropical storm, not 40 miles an hour. But of course, National Hurricane Center, sometimes they tend to put a lower speed or sorry, not a lower speed rate, a lower kind of strength. They just do that sometimes, and actually a lot of times. So this has produced 45 miles an hour sustained on the surface, has actually been reported for southern Florida, even Key Largo, but the National Hurricane Center just put it at 40 miles an hour. But at least it's named. But as you see, this is possibly very moving very slow here. It's near the general area of the Everglades. It is moving through a very muggy, really just muggy and favorable area here. We have a lot of moisture here. It's really muggy. It's been raining in southern Florida for a couple of days ahead of time, so it's really favorable, which is why we are seeing this starting to come back together, really organizing. I wouldn't say it's really strengthening like a lot, but it's strengthening every other update, or even every other slightly. So it's getting its act together. But as you see, very good banding. We have the counterclockwise spin and winds on 4 quadrants, which is why this is a named storm. But as you see, really, really organized, especially when you zoom out. It looks very good. It's actually a decent sized tropical storm, and we are still seeing tropical storm winds in southern Florida as we speak here. So it's a pretty widespread wind extent here. Let's check out now another look at RI here. As you see, we have a lot of convection there. This low pressure is actually to the west of all this convection here. It's actually around right here. That's where that low pressure is. It's kind of west of all that pinks and purples. Even some, pinks and purples and a lot of whites. So this is indicating we have a lot of convection, which means vorticity is continuing to strengthen and become a lot stronger and frequent. So this is a sign of an organizing and if not strengthening tropical storm. As you can see, that convection, it is bringing some really big flooding threats for Florida. We've already had flood reports, areas in the Key West general area. We've had a lot of rain. I believe 15 straight hours of rain. And that is because it's moving 7 miles an hour, guys. So that's going to be a big threat. Once this low pressure is fully in the water, expect it to possibly strengthen a good bit. I wouldn't say rapidly intensify, but I would say see a bigger increase at the rate it's been doing right now here. So this is actually the first cone. Oh, sorry, not the first cone. This is actually our fourth new cone, I believe, for now we have Tropical Storm Sally. But this is the first track when it actually was confirmed to be Sally. But as you see, at 2 p.m., there it is, just off the coast of Naples. So it's kind of just getting off Florida now. And that's pretty impressive that it's strengthened, even though it's been slowly moving over Florida. I mean, I have a lot of family in Miami. They're saying it was pretty bad conditions for a tropical depression. They said it brought 50 plus mile an hour wind gusts. They said it brought a lot of flooding. And Miami, I know you can't really say Miami flood. I mean, Miami floods easily. So even as far as Fort Lauderdale, they saw some wind damage. But this is showing you how decent of a tropical depression this was. And now it's a tropical storm. But as you see, the National Hurricane Center does show it speeding up a little bit as it does go in the Gulf. As you see, you can just see how fast it's moving from that 12-hour period. But then it significantly slows down by Monday. This is expected to make landfall around early Tuesday morning or early Tuesday afternoon. But if it significantly continues to slow down, we might not even see a landfall till Wednesday. I mean, Laura, for example, slowed down unexpectedly before landfall, and it made landfall a good few hours later than expected. But mention we do have tropical storm watches for the Big Bend and portions of the Florida Panhandle, Panama City, Apalachicola, Destin, Florida, Pensacola, and you guys near Fort Walton. I wouldn't doubt if you guys get in the action with those tropical storm watches, and I wouldn't doubt if we have tropical storm watches for Mississippi and Louisiana by the end of tonight. But as you see, the National Hurricane Center finally they wake up and they show it being a hurricane at 80 mile an hour peak, and they show a hurricane landfall for the far eastern parish areas of Louisiana. So easily flooded areas, they can easily flood. We saw Katrina, how easily it flooded those areas. Obviously this isn't Katrina, but it does have a similar track. I mean, it formed in the Bahamas, was a tropical depression for Florida, and then came out the tropical storm. I mean, we're kind of seeing a resemblance to Katrina. It's Katrina's son or Katrina's daughter, you know. But yeah, as you see, potentially going to make 2 landfalls, one for Louisiana, and then you do know how there's a little gap in the ocean for Mississippi, and then a second landfall for Mississippi. So Mississippi and Louisiana are fighting for that first landfall, and then rapidly decrease into a tropical depression by Thursday as it goes into Mississippi. But as you see, could make landfall in around the end of 3 days. So could make landfall really expected Tuesday, but I wouldn't doubt if it delays to Wednesday because, I mean, we've had so many storms that just slow down and then that kind of delays the landfall. But that's what we have National Hurricane Center. Here's actually the peak that they have, 80 miles an hour, a couple hours, I believe 12 hours before landfall, and then making landfall for the far eastern parishes. So not New Orleans, not Morgan City, not Isle Beach. It's going to make landfall kind of that really where the border of Mississippi is. You can't really name a town there. It's really rural. It's easily flooded. So hopefully people do take this seriously because I wouldn't doubt if it becomes a good bit stronger than National Hurricane Center predicts. I know National Hurricane Center predicts 80 miles an hour. Adrian, how strong do you think it's going to be? I think Category 2 is really not out of the picture. I think it's the most reasonable. I don't want to say this, but if it continues to slow down and it doesn't speed up, I wouldn't rule out the possibility of it being stronger than a Category 2. So Category 3, it's not out of the picture, but it's not the most likely. It probably has a very small chance of happening at this rate. But we all know storms can always slow down, and the Gulf has some really, really warm waters. Intensity, that's what we've been talking about. Intensity, models do get this to a Category 1. We saw yesterday a lot showed tropical storm, and only tropical storm. But there it is. We have a good 10, 11 models getting this to a Category 1. And then we have that one model, I believe the Hawaiian model, is getting this to a borderline Category 3. I would not doubt, and a lot of people can, or not a lot, but a good amount of people on Discord can agree with me, that this could very well start to see more models getting to the Category 2 wind extent. But I think for now, Category 1 on intensity, it's really reasonable. Obviously, it's still not fully out in the ocean yet, so you can't really just say, oh, it's going to be that. But there's always a possibility that models will continue to rise to the point where a lot of them, the majority, show Category 2. And we saw that with Paulette as well. That's a very our early example. That's the most recent. Paulette only predicted to be a tropical storm, and a lot of models didn't get to Category 1, and then it slowly rose all the way up to a Category 2, and some even show Category 3. So this just became a tropical storm, so intensity for this isn't 100% accurate. So expect these to keep on going up, especially if it does continue to move at 7 miles an hour in those 89, 90 degrees Fahrenheit waters. So here are the tracks here. I mean, they're kind of all over the place, from Morgan City to Pensacola or Destin. I'm just going to kind of just put this all together, and I want to give you guys a general area. This is kind of a cone here. This is kind of just a cone to give you guys an idea where I think this will go and most likely where it goes. So this is basically my general area for my cone here. I do think anywhere from Alabama to the far eastern coast of Louisiana could get landfalls. So if you're Lake Borge, if you're in Mobile, if you're in Biloxi, if you're in areas near Gulfport, that general area, you guys kind of know where I'm coming from. That general area, I would keep a close eye on it. And it's up to you if you want to start getting ready. It's up to you if you want to wait a couple more days. But this could make landfall in around 80 hours. So really, time is ticking. Things could change, obviously. So don't act out too early, but don't act out too late. But you see, the majority are aiming for the Louisiana and Mississippi border. I mean, that's kind of been the topic. But if this does strengthen sooner and it is stronger than the National Hurricane Center predicts, like I say, could be a Category 2, that means it will take a northern turn like it's doing in Mississippi sooner, which is going to raise the concerns for Hattiesburg, and it's going to raise the concerns for the Alabama coast. So that's why I'm saying, if you're in Alabama, if you're in that far western panhandle where Pensacola is, I would not rule out the possibility. I know models are way out to the west compared to Pensacola, but just trust me on this. Models could continue to have an eastern trend. I wouldn't rule out the possibility, but by the end of tonight, we will see the 18Z and see a better picture here. But let's check out now what we have here on other tracks. A lot of these are aiming towards Mississippi. So Mississippi really, as of now, is the main area for landfall. Obviously, the eastern Louisiana coast as well. But it seems like Mississippi could possibly get the hardest hit and the main hit. But if you're in that far eastern parish areas in Louisiana, where I can't even name a town there. I really can't. I looked in Google Maps. I zoomed in all the way, and I still can't find a city there. If you live in that really rural area in the parishes of Louisiana, I would also keep in close being at the biggest at stake or at threat for Sally. But here's look now at Paulette. Paulette's kind of been our main concern for a couple of days ever early before Sally. But as you see, hurricane warnings have been issued for all of Bermuda. Like I said in the intro, I don't know how you're gonna evacuate. You can't really evacuate unless you board a plane or you have enough gasoline to go 100 or hundreds of miles out to sea. I really can't tell you how to evacuate for Bermuda, but I can tell you if you're not going to evacuate, a lot of people won't because it's Bermuda. Look at the location. I would say just get water, board up your house, be prepared. I know a lot of people have gone through Umberto that live in Bermuda. Just prepare as if it was Umberto. Think of Umberto and prepare as if Umberto 2.0 was heading for you. Just prepare that way. Get water, get gasoline for a generator, get a generator as well. If you have a boat, you obviously have to get your boat out of there. I believe that's a Bermuda rule. That's the law when a hurricane's heading for Bermuda. But really, just board up and prepare how you did for Umberto. If you didn't prepare for Umberto, then prepare as if Umberto was giving you a second shot to prepare, if that makes sense. But look at the wind field. Very, very large. I mean, this thing's a decent sized tropical storm, and it's this close to being a hurricane. Could be a hurricane by the end of tonight if that shear continues to be unbothered with this low pressure. But as you see, supposed to make landfall 8 a.m. Monday. So we can see a landfall Monday and a landfall on Tuesday. Monday will be Paulette. Tuesday will be Sally as of now, but I think Sally might make a landfall on Wednesday due to the fact it might move slower than expected. But I see National Hurricane Center showed a direct landfall. I mean, that H is right over Bermuda. You can't even see Bermuda. You can only see the red, which is where those hurricane warnings are. That's the only way you can point out Bermuda because they're showing a full-on impact through the middle of the country here, which obviously isn't something you want to see. You obviously don't want to see anywhere get hit directly on, even if it's a hurricane. But intensity on Paulette, a lot are showing Category 2. We do have a couple, more than a couple, showing Category 1 only, but those are showing high-end Category 1. But the majority and the average out are showing a moderate to high-end Category 2, which is around 90 miles an hour, obviously 95 miles an hour. And then after that, it's Category 3. We do have two models getting into Category 3, and I would say Category 3 isn't out of the picture. It's just that shear really, it's already that shear's too close for comfort, so I wouldn't really rely on Category 3, but prepare for a Category 2 landfall here, so an Umberto 2.0. And then as you see tracks, you can even see Bermuda on the tracks. All the tracks are over Bermuda, if not right off the coast of Bermuda, so please prepare for Bermuda. Please do. I really don't want to see a remake of Umberto. That was really just catastrophic for Bermuda. Really just a lot of damage. But this is what we have here for Paulette and for Sally. This is just what I covered, these two big topics. Obviously, we have 95L, 97L. Renee's basically, it's tropical depression now. It's basically dying. So I wanted to focus on these two big storms, or two potential big storms. Sally could become a hurricane and make landfall for the U.S. and Paulette heading for Bermuda. Really concerned about these two storms. So here's look now at GFS, and as you see, they show what we have here with Paulette at 981 millibars in 6 hours. So they're kind of showing it dropping a good bit here compared to where it is at now. And then there it is, GFS showing Sally coming off Florida at 1,004 millibars. I still think GFS is still underestimating it when it gets off Florida, but generally I think GFS is doing a little better than they have generally all this year. I think GFS has been really a bad start since Josephine. They've just been plain old awful. But I think they are improving. They have so far aced Paulette, And if they continue to ace Paulette, Paulette could be really bad for Bermuda. You know why? Look at GFS showing 970 millibars right before landfall, and boom, making landfall at a 967 millibar storm. As you see, Bermuda is getting right a direct hit, a complete direct hit at a 967 millibar storm, which in English is a category 3. So obviously not good at all. And then GFS shows for Sally becoming 997 millibar storm and hitting Louisiana. That's exactly why GFS is showing Louisiana. The reason why GFS is showing Louisiana is because GFS is underestimating the storm. If you guys did not see the 6Z, they were showing it being 982 millibars, and that meant it was going to turn north sooner, and that's exactly why the GFS showed landfall for Mississippi earlier today. The weaker this is, the more west it'll go. So the weaker this will be, the bigger the threat, or the bigger chance it hits Louisiana. The stronger it gets, which I do expect it to be stronger than the National Hurricane Center, it's going to lead a bigger threat for Alabama, Mississippi, and maybe, depending where it gets, how close it gets to Florida, the far western panhandle. But really, Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana are at highest risk for a landfall. Even though not a lot are showing Alabama, I'm telling you guys with confidence, expect over the next 24-hour period that there will be more tracks heading east, because it will get stronger and be stronger than the National Hurricane Center predicts. I mean, the National Hurricane Center didn't show this being a tropical storm until way after Florida, and it became a tropical storm when it was over Florida. So that's just keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. So that's what we have here for the Western Atlantic. But let's briefly talk about 97L and 95L. As you see, there is 97L right there past the Cape Verde area, I believe, on the islands off Africa. And then there's 95L there in the middle of the MDR, continuing to stay at those areas of 1,005 millibars. But as you see, then it blows up, which is why I think Teddy, which is not soon to be Teddy, which is 95L, could be pretty significant. And guys, every single model has been showing it's going out to sea, but trust me, I really think that now that Renee will be stalling, not stalling physically like 0 miles an hour like Dorian, but will be slowing down significantly and doing a loop that will cause Teddy, which will be 95L, to go more south and to avoid that out to sea turn. And I do have a couple people backing me off on that, but just trust me on this. I wouldn't rule out the possibility of Teddy going into the Caribbean. I know no models support that. No models support that. Not even tracks. It's just me on my own. I'm just saying, don't rule out the possibility. If you're in the Windward Islands, if you're in Puerto Rico, just watch the models. Just watch the videos, just in case. Because now that Renee will be stalling and looping, that will make it harder for Teddy to go up north that soon. So it could delay that northern turn and then go like that or something like that here. But last but not least, let's check out the hurricane models on 90 or on Renee, or sorry, not Renee, on 19 on Sally, and then we'll wrap up the video. But as you see, 989 millibars in 24 hours, which doesn't seem too unreasonable. And then H4 just showed the blowing up. I mean, RIing to the max, rapid intensification. As you see, like 957 millibars right before landfall in Louisiana, and that will devastate eastern Louisiana because it's very poor area. Those parishes easily flooded. We saw Katrina, what it did, and I mean H4 is showing a monster category 4. I don't think it'll be that strong, like not at all. But the only thing I would say is that just be on the lookout. Prepare if it was going to be a Category 3 or a Category 2, because Category 2 isn't out of the picture. As you see, they do show on winds up to 96 knots, which is a high-end Category 3 to Category 4. Low-end Category 4, but really, that's what we have in this video. So guys, I hope you guys did enjoy this rather long video. I do apologize, it's a lot longer than I anticipated, but if there's major updates, I will possibly try to do another evening update here. I should have time if that happens here, but bye guys.